Well, hello. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, All FM, or good morning, depending on where you're watching this from. Welcome to another live stream on the Novak Weekly YouTube channel. I'm your host, Marko Milenković, and joining me, as he does always, my good friend from Italy, Mario Boccardi. Mario, welcome, buddy, once again.
Hi, very, very happy tonight because a lot of time since we last spoken talking about, Novak having played something and having won since he hasn't lost a match since that Wimbledon final. So basically, we started this a few weeks ago. We are still undefeated, but
That's true. That's true.
I'm very happy to be here.
Now, do I actually need to introduce her? Probably the biggest No FM ambassador in the world is with us once again, Julie Soyer. Welcome, dear. It's so great to have you with us tonight.
Can I speak in French since we're celebrating Paris?
Whatever you like, French, Spanish, English. We can try Italian, Serbian, whatever.
Yeah.
How are
as
you,
Novak
dear?
said, I'm going to speak. The team can't speak French, so in case the team watches that, they won't be able to understand. Yeah, I'm good. I am not tired at all. Not tired. I am great, fresh as a daisy.
Yes. Let's go. By the way, listen. The last time we were talking about, and scheduling a live stream, Nole won the US Open. This time he won Paris. It looks like every time we do this, Novak wins another big title. So let's schedule another one for Turin while we have you here. Yeah, let's schedule every week. Guys, apart from Julie, our dear friend Jay Schroder is also going to join us, though he's going to be a little late. It's something to do with his kids, sorry. So we'll do the first part without him. First part being Novak's triumph in Paris, and hopefully Jay is going to join us by the time we talk about Novak's books, your guys, Jay and Julie's contribution to the project, and also some other little stuff. If you have any questions for us, leave them in the live chat, and we'll try to answer as many as we can at the end of the show. Before we actually go into this, I'll do what I always do, and that is to ask you guys to like this video, share, and leave a comment down below. All those things help us with YouTube algorithm, and of course, please consider subscribing to this channel. We're trying to grow and maybe reach 1,000 subs by the end of the year. It's gonna be difficult, but with your help, we can do it. And also, we'll have some new content coming in 2024, so keep that in mind. Also, if you're not following us on social media, please do so. All the links are in the description down below. Now, let's do this. Guys, what can I say about our guy? 7th title in Bercy. Record, 40th Masters 1000 title, a record. His 97 career title, which is third all time. Only Federer with 103 and Connors with 109 are in front of him. He's 36 and he's still doing this. And honestly, he looks almost unbeatable. So, Julie, let's start with you, dear. You were there last week in Paris, in Bercy. First of all, tell us how it was.
Just the weekend. I was working during the week because I have a job. But yesterday was less stressful than Saturday. Saturday was intense. I know for a fact Novak has been unwell the whole week. He's had really issues and he couldn't eat a lot. So that makes me admire him even more. Well, he's talked about it last night, like he said that he could only eat once a day, and he did say sorry everyone, but he was like everything was coming out, So Novak, it's not the first time that Novak has some sort of stomach issues. Sometimes people are just more inclined to or not. But the point is that how does he win matches like that? Like especially intense ones, and like Andre, coming back from losing the first set. It's just when you take a little bit of a perspective, you're like, wow, like what an athlete, I was sick a few weeks ago. Trust me, for 3-4 days, the only thing I could do was literally do my bed to my sofa to my, kitchen. That's all I could do, Of course, I'm not the greatest athlete of all time, but you know what I mean. It is quite impressive. They did that. And yesterday, I'm not going to lie, I did believe it was going to be tougher to win. because it had been tough. Apart from the first match, it had been tough the whole week. But yeah, super happy. Like I was like to Nole fan before who was there. I was like, I want 40, as if I had any decision making. But I was like, I want 40 today. We're having 40 today, manifesting it 40. And actually, what's funny is that the first set happened. I said so I had Milan next to me. There was Vini, Chalet, and I said, I'm feeling like a 6-3 in the second set. I feel like it. And then, boom!
Look at you go.
I'm usually so bad at predicting scores or whatever, like, because I'm terrible at it. And then I was like, yeah, I feel like it. It's like fake it until you make it, right? So I faked that. I thought,
make it into existence, right? But how was the overall? Sorry, dear. How was the overall experience during the weekend?
You mean for the crowd, or like
everything? Overall. Yeah, we're gonna talk about the crowd because that was nasty, honestly.
I mean, for me, it was great. I'm not gonna lie, it was great. I mean, being able to be there to support Novak, I think is a great honor, is a great privilege, never taken for granted, and to watch live tennis. I adore the introductions of the French Masters. Like the atmosphere for that is always that little cube thingy. I love it.
Yeah,
I adore it.
I love that. I love that cyberpunk vibe. It's awesome.
Yeah. For the crowd, well, if you're going to talk about it later, let me not get started now. But I do have a few things to say, and I actually had an incident with security there because I did not shut up, and loads of people were complaining about them. The security at the French Masters, I have no issue saying it in public, is terrible. Like during the whole week when I wasn't there, I had Nole fam messaging me about how they were rude, they were and very often aggressive and provocative for absolutely no reason when people are doing nothing wrong. And it happened to me as well on Saturday, and that was a little downside. But apart from that, yeah, it was great. Like great attendance. It was almost full, to be honest, both times. I've seen years where it was not the case, especially for semis. So and watching Novak play tennis is always the honor. So yeah, amazing. And how Novak was yesterday with us afterwards was just, it means so much. Like, he did say to me, thank you for coming, because he knows I'm coming last minute. He knows, that I bought a train last minute that is definitely expensive, and the acknowledgement and saying thank you just means a lot to me, and I deeply appreciate that. And coming to us and taking the photos. He was asking security to move away to take a photo because he wanted as many of us as possible. So he was like, move back,
move, get out of the way.
Yeah, he was like, don't want you in the photo. Well, he didn't say that, but clearly that's what he intended, So, and yeah, those photos are just amazing. And I think someone said it on Twitter today, like, who else? Like, give me another athlete of that caliber who celebrates with his fans like that. And I mean, I don't know all sports. No. I don't, but I do believe that if it were to happen, I would see photos of it or footage of it. I don't. So I'm not gonna. I am tired today, but that's because we celebrated so much yesterday, because we had such a great weekend, and because I was working. So yeah, not much sleep, but loads
of. Mario. You were my guide last week, basically guiding me through every match because I wasn't able to watch any of the matches. Two reasons. First of all, I'm going to say my fucking cable provider does not offer a sport club, which is the official broadcaster for all ATP Tour events. And the second reason, my tennis TV app for some reason was not working. It wouldn't load. I couldn't sign in. I don't know what's happening. I'm definitely going to try to solve that by the time Turin kicks in next week. But yeah, that part sucks. But unfortunately, I had Mario with his messages and his analysis on WhatsApp. Buddy, tell me, how was his tennis last week? We saw, and Julie mentioned, apart from the final and the second round match against Thomas Echeverry, All the other 3 encounters against Griespur, Rune, and Rublev went to 3 sets, and he was kind of struggling. So tell us something more about that.
Yeah, in my opinion, first of all, the highest quality performance, in my opinion, was really. I think the quarterfinal against Rune was overall a good performance. It was, yes, a 3-setter like in the third round and in the semis, but overall he has never been, really close to the defeat, at least in terms of the score. Even he lost that tiebreak, but yeah, the tiebreak was a bit rough, but overall, still watching the whole picture, it still was the second set tiebreak after winning the first set, and in the third he was already there present, had the break quite early, and overall I felt that he was playing he was playing good in that quarterfinal, so I would pick there as the best performance, in my opinion, considering the opponent, the opponent's performance, also, and the way he managed the moments of the match. Yeah, the semis. The semis was, in my opinion, totally different story, because it really was at the beginning of the second set, when Rublev, after taking it 7-5 the first, held to love and then had a break point in the game right after, and overall there was still a lot of difficulty, also because Rublev was playing unbelievably good from the baseline. Incredible. He has improved a lot comparing to last year, and we've really seen that this year and also in that match. But he's been basically 3 points away from losing, because he was love 15 when serving, to stay in the match 5 in the second set. But then the level was, he was struggling. It was clear that he was struggling. The backhand side, he was struggling. For example, like that, he was a little bit off balance often. I was understanding also what were telling him in Italian from the corner. They a bit, they were speaking, not always, but I've heard a lot of things in Italian. Like, for example, I was telling you during the Cincinnati final. So fortunately, I can understand what they are saying. And it was clear that he was struggling. And
but do you let me ask you this? Sorry to interrupt you. Do you think that the biggest reason was the stomach issue that he had? Because if I remember correctly, the message you sent me after the Echeverry match was like he was flawless. When I asked how did he play?
But at the same time, from the other side of the net, there hasn't been probably also a very good performance in that match. So first match, it can tell me something. It can tell me something the first match, but then I also need to see the second match and another one. Also, for example, Griespur, who is able to play this kind of fast tennis, to usually be aggressive, come to the net. He exploited a bit of the difficulties Novak was having. So yeah, of course, the first match was a good match. There were some good moments, but you have also taken into consideration, when you see the whole picture, you value a lot of different things. Overall, this hasn't been the classic flawless Novak week in terms of the tennis level. but there's still something incredible, of course, in the way he's able to turn around things and to understand what's even a little weak point in the opponent in some moment of the match. And for example, the how well he played the second set tiebreak against Rublev, and all the you know, all what that has meant also for the third set, in which he got better during his service game. And also has to be said, the serve has worked really well, in especially when needed. In the first
Apart
set, for
from the
example.
double fault
Yeah,
at, in the
yeah,
first set.
a bit of, yeah, but I also understand that at times he was also trying to, you know, to have something more at times from his second serve, because given also how he was struggling from the baseline, Rublev was blasting the balls in this race and was making it really difficult for him to stay there in those kind of points. And he also wanted some more from his serve. I also can understand this dynamic, in my opinion.
Julie, sorry, Mario. Julie, let me ask you this. Out of those 3 matches where he struggled, so Griekspoor, Rune, and Rublev, which one, in your opinion, was the toughest one? And was there any doubt in your mind that he might actually lose any of those matches?
Well, first of all, the only one I watched fully was against Rublev in person, because the 2 others, Friday evening, I had plans with friends, and the night before I had a commitment at work, meeting parents, so I didn't watch fully the 3 of them. I did watch the end of Rune, and no, I mean, I was a little bit scared in the third set when he had the break, because it reminded me of the final last year where I was in person and we had the break and we lost it, and but at the same time, I mean, I wanted 40, but at the same time I was like, not the end of the world if he loses. We've had such an amazing season. Like we had 3 slams. I really don't feel like I am a kind of, I'm not saying other people are, but I'm not feeling like I'm a kind of demanding person in that sense, just because I'm not on the court. I know I'm super lucky that I have chats with Novak, and I have met Novak many times, and I've talked to the team many times, and I do understand the pressure, what it takes from you, and what I have is empathy. It is so much, and I'm not sure everyone realizes that. And I know, so there's Torino coming up and there's Davis Cup coming up, so there's a lot back to back. So of course I wanted it, but on a personal level, I was like, okay, it's probably a way as well to reassure myself, if he loses, it's like, okay, it's not the end of the world if he loses. But did I feel like he was going to lose? As I said, no, not so much. Like even Rublev, I was like, okay, he needs to regroup and stuff, but I genuinely felt like Novak wanted it, and he was so annoyed by some people, like because I don't want to say French people, because I've read it's particular crowds. It's also, I also believe it's very Parisian, and maybe I'm going to take some backlash for that, but I don't care. For having been there, I know there's some of them who they're hooligans. They think they're at football, okay? And they think they're being playful, okay? Because I bumped into some people into a restaurant after, and they were actually criticizing Novak not enjoying the crowd. And I literally jumped into the conversation. I was like, hi, you don't know me, but I'm a huge fan. Let me jump in. And they think that they're being funny. They think that it's a love-hate game, I genuinely don't think they hate Novak or they're anti-Novak. I don't think so, for talking to people. I think they think, they're being playful and funny, but I do believe they also respect him and what he does. Yesterday was an example of that. Yes, they were for Grigor. They maybe wanted Grigor because Grigor is always a public darling, but it's so tough. Because on one way you're like, it could come across as the anti-Novak, in another way no. But my deep feeling is that there's not as much hate as it can come across when they boo him, if that makes sense.
No, it does. It does actually, and I agree with your statement. Honestly.
Yeah, I see lots of young people, who are like 17, 18, 19, 20, who are privileged to go to tennis and who think they can do better. Who think that they're being funny. They think they're at football. Let's be honest. It's that, and that is annoying. That is beyond annoying. That is it's like but like it's not also only against Novak. Against other players have been like that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Remember last French Open against Taylor Fritz? Like it was it was so disgusting. Like I tweeted about it. Like, because it comes across as French people. And, I actually almost feel ashamed. Actually, I'm going to say something to you. I once apologized to Novak on behalf of French people. I was just like, and he was like, please, But I was like, I am so sorry that people are behaving like that, But what I mean is that, it's not only against Novak. And I think it's their way of trying to bring some entertainment. And really they ignorant in terms of boundaries, like literally the guy go and changes his racket because it's new balls or whatever, they're gonna boo boo.
Yeah.
I think it's also ignorance, to be honest. Ignorance. They think they're being funny. It's
by the way,
yesterday, to be honest, like it was I had behind me some guys who were deeply for Grigor.
Yes.
But they were super polite and stuff. You know what I mean? Like yesterday was not to me so strong. Maybe a little bit on Saturday, but same.
Yeah, guys.
You have to think about in terms of timings. If it's night, it's different.
Yeah.
Let us welcome our dear friend James from California. Welcome, man. I can't believe you're finally here.
I'm here. I made it. First podcast too.
First live stream. Love the hat, by the way.
Thank you. Yes. And the shirt.
Yeah, the shirt. I didn't even notice the shirt.
Come
on.
Yeah, I just actually got this one used off of eBay and pretty thrilled that it's in decent shape. So
nice.
How are you, buddy? How's
Thanks for having me.
How's the noon in California?
It's crazy around here. I've got the in-laws in town and kids running to school, and I'm the chauffeur, so always busy.
Yeah, sorry about that. We were just talking about Novak's triumph in Paris and his troubles with stomach and troubles with in his three matches with Greeks, Rune and Rublev. So before we actually wrap this first segment, tell us your thoughts on his run in Paris last week. What did you expect? And of course you're satisfied as we are with the results, but
sure,
just
it's awesome to be able to have this conversation a day after Nole wins his 40th Masters title. I mean, that's what an opportunity. My overall thoughts, I kind of expected a little bit of rust given it's been, I think, 6+ weeks. But, his match against Echeverry was very straightforward, and I thought he looked great. He looked pretty sharp. I didn't really notice any of the signs of, the stomach issues. But I'm watching on, television from thousands of miles away. So people close to him might have, been more aware of what was going on and might have picked up on some of those nuances. But to me, he looked pretty sharp. So I was kind of expecting more of the same against Griekspoor, although I do think Griekspoor is a good player. And I think, it's Novak never looks past anybody. And this is a guy that had won 2 titles this year. There's not that many guys that have won titles, multiple titles, this season. So he's a competent player with some weapons. So I didn't expect, it to be easy by any stretch of the imagination, but that was the match where it was just very, very clear that he was struggling, that something was bothering him. Didn't know at the time that it was, a stomach virus, but I thought that was the one where it at no point did I think he was winning that match, which is kind of crazy to think, because it's Novak. But even when he got the break in the third set, he got broken right back. And I felt like, that was not a good sign. But then the crowd got into it a little bit, and he got a little revved up. And 8 points later, it's over. So, and then I'm a
about the crowds in French, because I was surrounded by Nole fam who doesn't speak French, and did you understand? But Novak said to them that this week it was a special crowd. But he did say, it's thanks to you that I'm here today. So thank you. And he said, maybe see you next year. And I was like,
You're kidding.
Come on.
Yeah.
Our guy.
He definitely has an interesting relationship. And the crowd, forgetting about Novak, it was a very unruly crowd. It seemed like all throughout the tournament. I watched a couple of the other matches, and other players were clearly having some issues with, people flash photography or yelling during serve or whatever the case may be. So
Julie was just, saying, that.
Yeah. And that might be normal. I mean, it's, indoor tournament. I think they hold almost 16,000 people. It's going to be a little bit louder, you kind of expect that, I think, as a player, but there's boundaries and rules that you kind of abide by. And I think clearly in this case, they were going over those boundaries, but I guess you just have to deal with it. And Novak does that as well as anybody. So,
yeah, something I wanted to ask you guys, and I was actually talking about that with Mario before we went live. How much do you think Novak is winning these matches and these tournaments at this point in his career, based on psychological factors? Because of course he wasn't at 100% level. I mean, he didn't play tennis for 2 months. Julie and I were talking about that when she was in Belgrade 2 weeks ago, and we saw him struggling last week against the guys we already mentioned multiple times. So one of the things I actually asked Mario a couple of weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, are they actually I don't want to say afraid of him, but do they something I experienced watching The Last Dance, and Jay, you probably know that a lot better. I don't know if you're an NBA fan but there was, I don't know if it was Isaiah Thomas who was telling this story or David Aldridge, and it was basically something like the players, the teams were so scared of Jordan and the Bulls that before they actually went step on the court, they were like we can't win this game.
Sure.
So do you think that these, let's say younger guys, which technically they are younger, there are not that many who are at Novak's age apart from Stan Wawrinka and Andy Murray, so how much do you think that that's a factor today, and how much of a factor will it be in the upcoming years?
It's a good question. I think it's a little bit of a cliche to say that, but I think at the same time, like for example, I think the Greek Sport match is kind of a good example of it, where when Greek Sport, when he got that break back and got it back on level terms, it looked all for the world like it was going to go to a tiebreaker, or maybe even Greek Sport was going to pull ahead, and then Djokovic breaks at love. And if you've watched that game really closely, there might have been a point or two where Novak did something pretty well, but Greek Sport just kind of imploded. I mean, I think the moment just got to him. And I think that's pretty typical of young players that aren't really used to that big moment. You're trying to beat the number one player in the world. It's Novak Djokovic. Like, there's no question you're going to get a little tight. I mean, even Novak, we've seen him many times where he's trying to serve out a match and it becomes, very tenuous at best. Maybe he gets broken or what have you. So there's no question that there are those moments in a match that can be a little bit too big for an inexperienced player. But I think with guys like, Medvedev or even a Rublev, I thought Rublev actually played, exceptionally well. Rune too was in, incredible form. I know he'd struggled for 3 months leading into that tournament, but he really looked sharp to me in that tournament. I don't know if it was the Becker effect or him finding some level of confidence or health. I don't know. It's hard to say, but he was moving incredibly well. He looked very, very dangerous. And I don't think he's afraid of the moment at all. Rune, some of these guys, I think they, especially Rune, he's done it already twice. He's beaten Novak. He knows he can do it. So, I think it depends. I think there are definitely some young players, inexperienced, that maybe have only played Novak once or twice. They've never won a set. And it's going to be a big step to try to close out a match like that against Novak.
Yeah, by the way, I love I love this. Yeah, go on, Mario.
One thing. Just say, because Rune got to my mind after the match he won in Rome. There have been some question towards him, saying now you are ahead in the head-to-head. You beat him twice in a row. You won this one too. The third set was very good from you, 1-6-2. Do you think that you have the key? Do you think that you find yourself well in this matchup? And Rune actually said no, absolutely no, because even if it may seem that I won 6-2 this final set and maybe I prevailed to the distance, but still facing Novak, it's a totally different level of focus, point after point, because even when from the outside it may seem that he's doing some mistakes, he's not playing in that moment at 100%, he's still incredibly present, and he makes you feel this present, and you have to play with this on this feeling on your shoulder for 3 hours if you want to stand a chance and try to really beat him like he did. But yet he after that win he was really critic to these questions, because he was like, no, you clearly don't understand what it's like to be on the court against him. And that was pretty. Yeah, go.
Novak has that as that, because he's come back, and I think 2019 Wimbledon is the first one that everyone would think of, but he's got that ability to, when you think it's over, it's not over, and it's come back. And I think sometimes it as you say, it's that he's present all the time. He's one of the players where really you cannot think you've won until you hear game, same match with the opponent's name, and I think that has to be on the minds of all players that play him, because they all have watched his matches recent, like, you know what I mean. So surely you do feel pressure, like it. I don't see how it cannot be any other way.
Yeah. Mario, how good was his year? I mean, it's still not over. We still have ATP Finals and Davis Cup, but you put out a tweet yesterday. Novak won 5 big titles this year so far. The last time he won this many was in 2016, so 7 years ago, when he actually won 6. So, in short note, tell me, how satisfied are you with his 2023?
Pretty, not easy to put into perspective, because, for example, last year the big titles were 3, but that number was impressive considering all the circumstances, and the fact that, for example, this year he won Cincinnati. Last year couldn't have been there. Just to to have an example. And this year he won both the hardcourt Masters, and last year he wasn't able to play both of them. So it is a data, yes, that's for sure, and it's also a pretty big one, because just tells you how good this year has been. But I also have to admit that you also have to put all things into perspective. For example, in 2021, he also won 3 slams, but didn't get the second, Masters title. He won only one, but you have to consider that there was, for example, the Olympic Games, which meant a lot from him, and for example, made him skip both the Masters events that was the lead up for the US Open that year. So there have been a lot of circumstances, but overall, how can you say? What can you say about his season? Because first of all, he won 3 slams, has been finalist at Wimbledon, and then of course winning another couple of Masters events, which are always a pretty big occasion for everyone. Tells you a lot, the fact that he's close to clinch the year-end number 1, because the only combination for him to lose that is Alcaraz winning Turin by undefeated, and also Novak to go 0-3 in the round robin, which is not easy at all as a circumstance, and that tells you a lot, because the year-end ranking talks. We've seen a lot of times players having also very high peaks level, also at 35, 36, but with this consistency, no, never. Studying the schedule that well, being always ready. Let's think about his hardcourt season. He's 33-1, 34-1. Only one player has beaten him on this surface whole season, and it wasn't even at a Masters or at a Slam. Tells you a lot about how good he is, and also against the very, very top opposition. He's going to Turin this year, and the last top 5 player who beat him on the surface was Zverev in 2021. And he won the last 9 he played against top 5 players, and you always mention his age, because it's worth to be mentioned, because to give the perspective of how these numbers are unbelievable. So I think that there's any doubt about how to judge and value his season. Absolutely.
Yeah, Jay, buddy, one thing I learned from your Twitter today, another amazing statistic from your part. Novak is now the all-time leader when it comes to winning percentage for indoor courts, right? He overpassed Roger Federer. He's now at 36%, 18 out of 50 tournaments won, while Federer is at 35.3 with 24 out of 68 won. How did you find that? How did you find that stat, man?
That's just something that
that's impressive, man.
I've been keeping a spreadsheet for the last couple of years. Actually, it started out of the Novak Books project. I kind of realized how difficult it was to compile the information we needed for the books, and so I just started doing it myself. And so, yeah, I just update that periodically every tournament, and it's fortunately Novak doesn't play quite as much as he used to, so it's not as much work. But and just to clarify that statistic, it's not like a match statistic. It's just per entry of those types of tournaments. So on indoor hard courts, those stats are accurate. Yes, Federer's obviously entered a few more, having played longer, and
18 more.
Played quite a few more. I think 250s and 500 level. You would always play like what was it, Basel? Used to always play that. Swiss indoors. Sorry, I'm an American.
Yeah,
Okay.
come on, don't pull that card. Don't pull that card.
Yeah.
Yes, pull it. Yes. Pull it. Absolutely.
So anyway, so Novak obviously mostly is playing, Paris. And then of course the tour final, and then he played a lot of them earlier in his career, but not so much in the more recent years. So just on a percentage basis, yeah, he's been outstanding on indoor hard.
Yeah. By the way, I still can't believe that 73% of his career titles are big titles. So
insane.
Yeah,
That's insane. Literally 70 out of 97. I mean, that's 72.3%. I mean, come on, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, and
that's
just
insane.
Going back to the original question about this season, another statistic that hopefully will hold because there's still a few more matches to go with the Tour Finals.
The top 10 wins?
No, well, that one too, but he's over 90% winning percentage. I think he's at like 91.1 or something like that as of today. So he's got to, take care of business in Davis Cup and the Tour Finals to keep that above that 90% level. But that's only happened 2 other times in his career. And that was 2011 and 2015, which, any tennis historian would say is at the very top of the list for best seasons of all time. So obviously it's different at this stage in his career, being a little more selective with the tournaments that he plays and at 36 years of age. But in some ways that makes it even more impressive. I mean, to be at a 91% clip at this stage of his career is just, it's just indescribable. It's just insane. We've never seen anything like this.
Before we move to our second topic, which is Novak books and your guys' contribution to that project, although I think we know, Julie's part, especially me, we want to hear your, Jays. I wanted to ask you guys about, that statement that Novak made that, made rounds when it comes to tennis media. I'm gonna read it. So I'm going for every possible record, all that I can achieve. I've never had a problem saying that, and maybe that's why people don't like me. I do not pretend like some do. This was the sauciest part for me. To say one thing and then behave differently afterwards. So when you read that,
can I just ask before we talk about this?
Yeah.
Did you read that statement? Like, did you read, not now, but did you read it anywhere in Serbian?
I did.
Because Anna Mitric just posted not long ago saying that, again, some words of Novak had been misconstrued. So I don't know if she's talking about that, if he exactly said that or no. If he said that,
I read it in Courier, which was, Vuk Brajović actually was the guy. So
it's 100% his words.
Should I mean, I'll check again later and tell you guys. Apologies if I made a mistake, but
because I read the tweet 5 minutes ago when you guys were talking. No offense.
Yeah, I didn't see. No, it's fine. It's fine. I just didn't see Anna's.
I trust her word, so that's why I'm like, I do hope he said that because it's 100% right, But it is also true. But I think there is an issue in society with people saying their ambitions. And with people saying, you know what, I'm going to do whatever I want. And here's what I want to do. Here's what I want to achieve. And some people do not deal well with that because straight away they interpret it as arrogance. And because maybe it reflects on them maybe not being so secure. Let's be honest. I definitely, I don't think Novak is the only one suffering from that in life because it happens at all levels. But I truly do hope he said that.
Listen, I read a couple of Serbian online media. It was Courier, which again, Vuk Brajović was the guy who was, conducting that part of the interview. I read it at, B92, and I saw it. I think it was Upenjanju, which was the page that Jelena Medic and Sasha Ozma run.
Some others do that. I'm like. From my understanding, it's the one where there's a little bit of doubt whether or not he said that. I don't
listen to let you guys know. Courier is possibly the biggest trash when it comes to newspapers or tabloids in Serbia. So even when it comes to them doing a part in Serbian, they can, make that look like you said it is. So, but in any other case, then we cannot, we can't know the truth because
but
they were the original source.
Even just saying I have no issues in publicly stating that is even it already tells you, in my opinion, what he is trying to say. It's a nice answer.
I do understand. I do want to be the devil's advocate here. I do understand sometimes some people might not want to say in public their ambitions. They might not want to say it just to protect themselves, just because it takes away the pressure. you know. And I understand some athletes, I'm going to say it like, I think Rafa is like that, you know. I think it's a way of deflecting a bit so that there's less pressure, you know. I do believe he's done that in the past, you know, like even at some point where people on Twitter were like, oh, here we go again, Rafa saying, oh, don't put me as a favorite because, you know, I've had this or that, you know. I do believe that's his personality. What I don't like is people blaming Novak, a professional athlete who sacrificed his life, you know, to be the athlete that he is, saying, oh my gosh, he's so arrogant, he says he wants to win it all. Well, what else? Like, a professional athlete is a sportsman. Like, of course he wants to win. That's what personally annoys me. I'm like, you can't blame a guy for saying, I want to win. I'm personally, I'm not going to start a game being like, oh, it's okay if I lose. No, it's not. I want to win, you know?
Of course. That's why I play. And, you know, his goals were always public. He always wanted to win, you know, as much as he can. He always wanted to be, you know, the GOAT, whatever. I mean, it goes all the way back from his interview he did when he was like 7 years old. I want to be number one. And that's his spirit.
You know, it might be a cultural thing where, you know, it in some countries you might be, of course you can't generalize, but sometimes as a cultural thing you might be more direct, you know. It's a personality thing as well, you know. It's a personality thing.
Cultural definitely. I mean, you Julie, you know a lot of Serbs. You know how we are, at least most of us. That's one of our traits, very direct and straightforward.
I'm not going to comment on that.
Yeah, she has some bad experience.
And I do prefer directness. You know, I personally like it. But you see, like I believe I'm very straightforward as well. I'm very direct as well. Is it a French thing? I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know.
You guys are very revolutionary. So
yeah, we cut heads there. There's an example.
What do you guys, Mario, Jay? What do you think of Novak's statement and the response from the tennis world? Let's say it like that.
Mario, you want to take that one?
No, I mean, in my opinion, it's totally fair and right answer. It's a well put statement. As we were talking about another statement last week, me and you, I'm sure about that. And I have the exactly same opinion, but because when I'm thinking, you know, I always think, I really wish to be like him with the microphone. He has this ability to say, you know, all the words are very well put, and he comes to you and to who is directed, but at the same time he's also, you know, always he always balanced. He don't say too much. Just say what he needs to say and he feels to. And in my opinion, this is the case too. He really said that. That's also one of the reasons I really like and respect him a lot, because I like the fact that, you know, he says what he wants. He is not, let's say, ashamed to say something, or, you know, he doesn't try to hide anything. He also part of his legacy, the fact that he you know, he's always himself, makes you feel what he would like to be, what are his goals, and I am okay with that, and I like it, and I think that this statement sends the message very, very, very well. And I think that also the tennis world in general have perceived it. In my opinion, there's always going to be some kind of degeneration and, you know, comment fulfilled of hate, maybe by someone. But overall, I felt like the messages arrived really well for what it should have been.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything inflammatory in anything that he said. I mean, he's not that far away from Connor's record, for example, which I think was the question that was asked of him. So, I mean, why shouldn't he try? I mean, if he doesn't get there, he doesn't get there. So be it. But he certainly has every right to go for it. It's not like crazy. It's not out of the question, you know. And he has goals, and he just keeps knocking each one of these things off. So why should we doubt him, right? So that's part of it. The only thing I think that the media was kind of speculating on, and I think Julie was kind of getting at this, was whether or not that one little part of his statement was directed at anyone in particular. And you'd have to ask Novak that, I guess, was that maybe something in response to what Nadal, who's made a couple of media's, appearances over the last couple of months talking about Novak, kind of unprompted even. Could that have been, a shot across the bow? Again, I don't know. I don't really think so, but it's possible, So I do think Novak has been known to be a little bit more open, in his own language, where he's a little bit more comfortable. So he might tell a little bit more information to the Serbian media, especially if he trusts them. But that being said, he's incredibly articulate in English, and not to say, not to mention the fact that he can speak Italian quite well, French quite well, even some Spanish now, I think, German, having, the Pilic Academy, I think was in, he spent some time there. So, the guy can speak like 6 languages, and his English has improved incredibly. That's one of the things that I learned.
Yes.
Not just watching him, but over the years, I've been following him pretty closely since like 2010. But just even reading those transcripts, you see how his English has improved, his vocabulary has improved. He's really impressive. So
he's a very smart man, and he's because once, but also because he's very curious, and his ability to make links between languages is incredible. I'm a linguist, I can spot that, and I can hear that. And once it was quite funny because we were having a conversation in French, and he used the wrong tense. He used this, in French, you've got the past tense, I did, and you also have the imperfect tense, I used to do. And, I was like, do you mind me correcting? He's like, no, please do. So I corrected him. And then we were in the middle of his practice in Belgrade, right? That was a couple of years ago. He wanted to understand why it was one tense and not the other. So in the middle of his practice, I had to explain, luckily it was a very quick explanation, but I had to explain. But you see, as the kind of guy as well, because he wants to know, he's a curious guy, and he's a very smart guy, but his eloquence for sure has improved so much. I discovered him with the interview of post French Open 2006, and please rewatch this interview. That his accent, he says it that rapid, unbeatable, and stuff. And that's normal because with languages you practice and stuff. For me, 10 years ago, my English was not like that. Of course not. But he's a very, very smart man.
Yeah, I can remember having watched some of his older matches, and he won the Rogers Cup in 2007 when when he beat 1, 2, and 3 in the world in succession there. And in the post-match ceremony, I think they referred to him as a Croatian.
Yeah, I still remember that moment.
I just remember what he sounded like back then. It's very, very different than today. He's so refined in his English and his pronunciation and everything. So yeah, the improvement is remarkable.
Yeah, guys, quick prediction about Turin, and we move on to Novak books and Julie's trip to Belgrade. Mario, let's start with you. It's what we do every week. predict him to win. It's not a difficult job.
I'll say this. He's winning the title, but not undefeated.
Okay, that's reasonable.
I'll take that.
Yeah. I don't even want to make predictions. I don't
know. That's my take.
It's I feel like I'm too superstitious, so I won't.
Oh my God, Jay, no.
Come on, don't be that guy.
Look, I like his chances. I think he's having gotten through Paris, feeling a little bit under the weather, you would think, assuming he's recovered from that and gets enough time to, over the next, say, 3-4 days to rest up and maybe spend some time with his family, assuming he's feeling fresh and not too stiff and sore. There's no reason why he shouldn't feel very confident. I also think that, he knows it only takes one win to secure that 8th year-end number 1. And so, he might not be. And I know that the Davis Cup is a big goal of his. I think he's really
number 1 priority.
Playing really well there, singles and doubles. So I think that's in the back of his mind. So I don't think he has to play with a lot of pressure, which is nice. Which was kind of similar last year, actually. I mean, he had fallen to 7 in the world or something at the start of that tournament. I don't even remember. And, went through the first couple matches pretty easily. And then he had that incredible battle with Medvedev, when he didn't need to win it. He had already advanced to the semifinals, and he just was not going to lose that match. Like, it was just not going to happen.
It was a statement.
It was a statement. Exactly.
Danielle, don't forget
he
me.
was like, that was the match. I think he was like trembling, and it was incredible. I would urge anyone to go rewatch that match. It's an absolute epic.
I found it traumatic. Like seeing Novak like that physically, for me, Novak or anyone, who's physically unwell like that, it makes me So
it was that's a very memorable match, fresh in my mind. And he didn't look all that sharp in the semifinal against Fritz, but just did enough to win in straight sets. And then I think against Ruud, he's just a better player, especially on indoor hard courts. I mean, I don't think he needed to do anything too amazing, and he was just rock solid and got that done in straight sets too. So I think the field is a little tougher this year, personally. I think everybody's really, with the exception of maybe Zverev, who he's playing better. He's definitely deserving of being in the final 8, in my opinion, but he's not quite back to the level that he was before his ankle injury. So I think he might be. I mean, it's still, though, on indoor hard courts with that serve, like he's certainly capable. He's won this tournament before. He's certainly capable of putting it all together. So I think everybody's really dangerous. I don't think there's anybody that you can just look at and be like, oh, there's a easy win. We'll win that one. So he's got to, if he wants to win the tournament, he's going to have to be, totally locked in and dialed in and focused. But he's absolutely capable. I'm sure he's, the odds-on favorite from a odds Vegas perspective, like he almost always is. But I don't think it's going to be easy. So we'll just have to kind of see how it goes.
Yeah, awesome.
My prediction is que será. What will be will be. There we go.
I like it, Julie.
No,
I like. You've done enough for me this year that, this is
contribute in a very useful way to this conversation. I'm terrible with predictions.
Yeah,
no, that's fine. That's fine.
I don't. Nothing good comes from that. Yeah.
One way or another, one win is going to be, year 8, number 1. Like, come on. Whatever we have, I'll take it.
But I know Novak, and I know he's not going to, he doesn't show up to these things without thinking that I can win this, like he might, might be
don't get me wrong. He wants it.
Yeah. I think he does. He even made a statement, I think, in his post-match press conference in Paris that, he said this basically the same things I just said. Like, these are the top 8 guys. You can't, take any match off, from the get-go, it's just, you got to be ready to play. So I think he's going to take it seriously. I think he wants to win, but I'm not expecting him to necessarily by any means. So just, I hope he, plays free and loose and shows everybody that he's no.
Yeah, I mean, he's still tied with Federer for most ATP Finals with 6, though. Why not make it 7? Although
I'm sure he wants that. I want it.
Although, if I would have to pick between either Davis Cup or ATP Finals, of course, I'll go with Davis Cup, which I also think that would be his choice. Okay, guys, let's talk a little bit about.
I would disagree with you on that one, but that's just me. So.
You would.
I'd take that 7th ATP Finals and an 8th year-end number 1 for sure. But
hey, listen, he's gonna have another chance next year. Who knows what's gonna happen? Davis Cup next year. Trust me.
I don't care about next year except Indian Wells, Nola. You better, if you're watching this,
yeah. I'm still struggling. I'm still coping with that defeat in semifinals against Croatia in 2021. But yeah, let's move on. Mario and I laughed about that. Guys, let's talk a little bit about Novak books. Julie, first of all, dear, tell us, how was your experience? Yeah, awesome. By the way, guys, if you didn't get your copy of Novak books, I'm gonna post all the information in the video description down below, so you'll be able to purchase them, order them. The books that Jay is showing you are the regular edition that you can find at novakbooks.com. The edition that Julie Come on, I can follow the both of you. The edition that Julie is showing you is a special limited edition.
It's so heavy.
Which you can.
Literally,
Yeah, I know,
it's 7 kilos, I think.
Yeah, the limited edition you can find at novakfoundation.com/shop. It's, I don't want to say a bit, it's a lot more expensive than the regular edition, especially since the regular edition you guys can buy each individual book, which costs I think $50. But the special edition is special. Why, Julie? Tell us.
Well, first of all, you only have 1,000 boxes created at all, and each of them you've got a certificate. So I have it here actually. Mine is 41, so that's it. And the idea with the limited edition is that, you know, at the same time you are doing a big donation to the foundation, you know, and a bigger one than with the regular edition. You know, it's something that we had in mind from the beginning. And also, you know, the covers are different. It's hard covers. And, you know, as you can see, a different color. Sorry, I put it on the floor.
No, we believe you. We believe you.
Yeah. Well, you know, all of the years, a huge, like, beautiful gold and black box, you know, with the foundation logo. Like, it's really like memorabilia to have forever, you know. So yeah, it is definitely more pricey, but it is something exceptional, you know, and we're definitely super proud of it. But we understand, I mean, you know, it's, you know, there's obviously a whole business behind it, as in, you know, as I said, donations for the foundation, you know, that I totally understand that, you know, not everyone can afford that. That's why you also have the regular edition, you know, and with Tony, we're working on, you know, future projects, or maybe we're going to have, I think he said it last time, you know, pocket versions, you know, like, this is just the beginning, basically, you know, but it's a product that all of us have worked hard on. You know, Jay has spent so much time. You know, he's done his bit now. Now it's more.
No. Come on, we have 2023 to do now.
Oh, definitely,
yeah.
Of course, you know,
and 2024.
And no, but also maybe where Novak was not number one. You know, that's definitely something we are thinking of, depending how things go. You know, we're also thinking, when I say we, you know, it's the whole team, you know, but we're also thinking different languages, definitely something as well, you know, Serbian version, maybe, you know, Chinese version, and because there's a big demand. So I find it super moving because, you know, it started for me, I think Jay just after, but for me, just January 2021, where Tony contacted me saying, I want someone to work this on with. Would you like to do it with me? And, you know, after the book 2018, I think it was January 2021, or maybe a few months earlier. I can't remember. And Jen knows the whole process that's been behind it. It's been a roller coaster. It's been, you know, a huge journey that's still going on. But the fact to see people with it, to see Novak with it, you know, when I made him sign them, you know, to be at the book fair, I find it super moving, you know, because we are getting nothing out of this. You know, I want to re-say that me and Jay are doing this out of love for Novak, you know, and of course I don't want to speak in your name, Jay, but of course
that's 100% correct.
Yeah, you know, like what we are getting is just the pride of being part of this project, you know, and to have our names next to it, and, you know, to talk about it.
And I thank you guys for that, honestly, because this is something special. This is something I'm going to be passing to my kids and grandkids someday.
The guy to thank behind all this is, it's not us, it's Tony.
Yeah, we need to. I wanted to tell the little backstory, actually. Just very quickly, just to give Tony just to give him a little shout out. But it's, you know, you hear a lot of the negative aspects of social media, you know, especially from athletes that are, you know, just constant abuse and, you know, the degenerate gamblers or what have you. I mean, there's a lot of negative, you know, stuff that comes from social media, especially if you don't really know how to use it, or you're overusing it, or it's whatever the case may be. But the flip side of the coin is the good stuff that comes out of it. And this book project and my having met Tony is certainly an example of that, where, you know, he had done on his own project. I think it was his own project. Julie, you could probably speak to this too, but he did the 2018 season edition. I think it was released maybe in late 19 or early 2020.
Yeah.
And I saw some people.
Yeah, I have it here.
Exactly, and I have
It's
that too.
this
I have it signed by Novak actually. But
hey.
there you go. There you go.
By the way, thank you, Julie, again.
Mine says
this was her doing.
Nala in it, so mine's better. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, some of the Nole fam on Twitter had a copy of that book, and I thought it looked great, interesting, and I wanted to get my hands on it. And it was actually pretty easy to order. It was available on Amazon Canada, I believe, because Tony lives in Canada part of the time. And I've read through the book, and I just loved the concept, the idea of basically it's like an annual review of Novak's season, right? I mean, there's nothing
like an almanac, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing out there even remotely similar to my knowledge. I mean, maybe in the ATP media guide, there's some similarities or something here and there, but I mean, certainly for one player to just be able to kind of rehash their entire season on the tennis court, I mean, nothing's been done like that. And so I loved it. And, I did notice just like a handful of typos that are normal course of business. I mean, it's going to happen, especially with somebody who's a non-native English speaker. So I contacted him, and he was, rather than being, offended or something like that, he was very appreciative of it and incorporated my changes into a next edition and remembered me, a year later when he embarked on this next project, and reached out to me and asked if I wanted to be a part of it. And of course, I couldn't say no. I mean, I love the books. I love Nole. I feel like I have the skill set that's useful for something like this. And so,
yeah, the spreadsheet came.
What's that?
The spreadsheets.
yeah, right.
I do want to say as well, because Tony, he doesn't want to be at the front. He doesn't really like I love it, and that's also why I'm here, because he'd rather that when I went to do the TV show, surely it should be Tony doing it, because he's the mastermind behind this. But he asked me to go, and of course I love talking about the support for Novak. But yeah, even Tony, what we're getting out of this is more about doing this for the love of Novak. And Tony will probably not say it in public, whatever, but he admires Novak so much. And that 2018 season where he was like, it's such an exceptional season of the comeback, that pushed him to do that book. It's because of Novak's results and Novak's comeback that Tony did that. It was not an agenda. It was not something, it is because of the respect and admiration for Novak. So yeah, Tony is the mastermind behind this. He's the patient angel behind this, who has to take me being like, like this.
Yeah.
That's a good segue, a good plug for your show too, just to remind people, if anyone's watching this, that you guys already did one of these with Tony, and so you can learn a little bit more about him, and you can listen to his own words. I mean, some of the things that he said were really stuck with me, like saying how he didn't want his own voice to get in the way. He just wanted to tell the story of that, of a season. And the 18 season was really special to him, having worked in media and been around Novak for years. I mean, I think he met Novak back in the early 2010s, or maybe even before then. I know he's got pictures with him from 2011 season, so he's known him for quite some time.
By the way, guys, I mean, I'm talking to our listeners. Tony does have his own YouTube channel where you can basically see all of the backstage footage, press conferences from basically every major and all the masters from North America where Novak played in the last 10 years. So
yeah, and he's got some great one-on-one interviews.
That's not his job, he
right?
does
no,
exactly.
That's just a labor of love. Yeah, he's got a couple of really good one-on-one interviews with some of the people in the media, like Peter Bodo, who's a pretty well-regarded former columnist, I think, for tennis.com, ESPN, etc. He actually wrote that piece about Novak way back in 2006 or 7, saying that this guy was, the perfect player. I think that's the name of the article. Most people have probably read that by now if they're Novak fans. But so you get a chance to go behind the scenes with Tony and see not just Novak, but some of the other Serbian players, etc. So there's a lot of good information there.
Yeah,
I wanted to ask Jay what since the first time I'm I'm able to speak with you. Wanted to ask you about your biggest takeaway, also emotionally, from this experience, and what's your overall perspective about all what has happened to this project so far?
Yeah, I love that question.
It's a good question. It's kind of broad. I think Julie actually said it best. I mean, for me personally, just like the pride that of being a part of something like this, like my name is in there, forever. I mean, these are real legitimate published books. They've got ISBN numbers, and I would love to see them in, Novak's restaurant or in his little memorabilia room there in Belgrade someday, or some museum. I mean, it's that there's a place for these books, certainly in libraries, I mean, sports museums, what have you. So I hope that they continue to find, an interest from people, and this project, I hope it can continue, like Julie said, getting in other languages. I mean, that's a huge effort, I'm sure, but I know that Novak has a big fan base in China and certainly Serbia, obviously. I think that's part of the reason. That's holding back, I think, some of the sales. As like there's a core audience in English, but he's such a global phenomenon. There's other languages and other markets to kind of capture. So.
Yeah, Tony even said to me that Italian is even an option, which because Novak has a huge fan base over there.
Fan base there, absolutely, yeah.
Which, I mean, we have an example over here with us. So
yeah, I got some Italian blood too.
I know thousands of people.
Yeah.
Julie, tell us, how was your experience at the book fair before we wrap this episode up?
It was really cool. Like, it was working perfectly because I had 2 weeks off. My school has a set calendar, and when Tony told me there's the book fair, I'm going to be there, because at the moment Tony's in Serbia, is spending some time in Serbia to work on moving on, like, with the books, etc. So I was so happy when he told me the dates were the second week, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And yeah, we had a little booth with Vishko and Ivan from Wish and Go. So I was there almost every day, and it was so, once again, it's just I arrived and I saw all the books. I actually FaceTimed Jay a couple of hours after I arrived, to show him, because as I said, it's been such a journey. We know the backstage stories, of publishing a book it just doesn't happen like that. There's a lot of work going on. There's a lot of up and down going on. So to see it out there, to see people, being able to buy it. At some point, there's a guy who did buy the limited edition. It's just, I don't know about you, Jay, but you have kids, I don't. But for me, it's like a little baby, and you see a little baby out there growing and into the hands of people. It's like your baby's a grown up, and that's very moving. And but also I had such a great time, and it was really nice. The day after I did the TV, I had some people coming over and saying, oh, I heard you, and I heard about the books last night, I'm coming to see them. And and that's great. Like, once again, all of this, I've said it 1,000 times, and words fail me to express how much I admire and respect Novak. And we talked earlier on how he's grown, and personally I've grown so much by supporting Novak. I believe I've become a better person, and the reason why I do all of this, because once again, let's make it clear, we're getting no money out of this. I'm not getting any money anywhere. It's because supporting this man brings me a sense of hope and a sense of invincibility and a sense that I can achieve anything in life, and that is priceless, and the more I do, to support him, the more grateful he is, and the more I want to do to support him. And the books is also aware of that. And I don't want to get emotional, but it's it is super moving to see these books out there, and to see that your passion and your love for this man can be shown as well to other people and shared with other people. And you meet, never ever would have thought that I was going to meet like Jay and I were not bound to probably become friends at all, because we live from far across the world, etc. And yet the book is a bond that we'll always have. Like, we've worked on this together, and I find this beautiful, these human connections, thanks to Novak. Like, how has this man, look, gathered all of us? We come from 4 different countries. You know, like I think it's moving. I think it's beautiful. I did tell him not long ago, you know, I was like, I don't think you realize, you know, what you've created, you know, the Nole fam, whether you identify as Nole fam or just Novak fan, you know, like, and yeah, I'm probably like rambling a lot, but it's just such a huge impact that it's had on so many people's lives, you know, and as far as I'm concerned, I never thought my tennis adventures would lead me to that. It was not a plan. It was not, you know, it's never been about showing myself on my profile. It's always been about showing Novak. And, you know, I'll keep on doing it, you know, sharing the love about this guy. This guy is an amazing guy. He's an inspiration to thousands and thousands and millions of us. And I will, you know, defend him like my own family when there's something unfair against him and when lies are being spread about him, you know. And I will share the love with people who want to share the love with him. Sorry, I'm stopping because I'm going to start crying.
As I always say.
One more thing I just want to add, and it was already kind of mentioned, but going back to the book project, the fact that Tony was able to get, you know, the foundations to be a part of it and get their stamp on it and have it just kind of legitimized everything.
Yeah.
And then the fact that so much of the proceeds of these books are going to his actual foundation, which are building preschools in Serbia. So you talked about the connection between people. I mean, we are literally helping, you know, small children in Serbia get a better education. I mean, that makes you feel pretty good too. So I just wanted to add that.
And, you know, as an educator, like that's something, you know, I've raised money for the foundation with my school in the past before. I'm not, you know, talking about this in public, but it's such a pride, like, you know, yeah.
Okay. Any last thoughts, Mario?
No, yeah, I'm just really, you know, also what Julie was saying. It was really nice and beautiful to hear, but you know, in some way I can relate because I do this thing. I you know, I do this thanks to him, and even if when I'm, you know, even talking about other players on other shows or writing about other things, because I still like to remember that I took this choice for my life thanks to him, because I don't think I would have been here otherwise, and that's always a thing I keep in mind and in my heart, and so I really can relate.
Yeah, Julie, I do have one question from you. It's by the way, from my best friend from college who was watching us tonight. So Vuk, hi to you. I don't know if you can disclose this. He's asking you if you'll be going to Malaga. He's also a big fan of Novak and a big fan of yours, so he would like to meet you. And as I said, if you can disclose that information right now, or if you don't have it,
it's pretty straightforward. I work during the week, so for that quarterfinal against Great Britain, no. In terms of the semis and final, I did buy tickets, but it depends on the prices of flights. It's as simple as that. If it's too expensive, then I will not make it. If they make it to semis and final, I mean semis, because final is the Sunday. It's just a question of price of tickets. I have found the flights that would suit me a long time ago after they qualified from Valencia. But of course, I'm not buying them because I don't know whether or not they'll make it. So it's just a question of money there. Yeah, but if I'm going, Vuk, let's meet.
Yeah, I'll definitely tell him that. Okay, that will be it for today's show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I want to thank Mario for being with me, you know, once again. So thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
And of course, a special thanks to our dear guests tonight, Julie. Dear, thank you so much for doing this. It's very late, you know, when, you know, where we live. You had a very busy day, so thank you. Of course, thanks to Jay, you know, with all that, you know, his happenings in his life with
he has 2 kids
and
you know,
kids and in-law and in-laws. We forgot about that part, which is even more stressful probably than the kids part. But yeah,
No,
thank you, buddy.
Thank
you, buddy, so much. And this is hopefully just the first of many appearances from your part on our pod. Guys, thank you so much for watching us. There were a lot more of you than honestly I expected. So if you're new here or you haven't subscribed already, please hit that subscribe button, click on that bell, and turn your notification on in order not to miss any of our new episodes or alerts. And thank you so much. We'll see you next week when Mario and I will be previewing the ATP Finals in Turin. So good night, everybody, and idemo nole. Bye.
Idemo. See you guys.